Shout out Mr. Checkpoint, AFTP. There's killers up in these streets. Always film the police. Gotta be our own keepers of peace. Gotta police the police. Gotta police the police.
Hi, Brontina.
Hey,
Nice to put a face to the name.
correct, absolutely.
So you're the mother of Lakeith Smith.
I am.
And I've seen the story recently, started sharing, got connected to you, and I continue to be shocked by the information I find out.
Okay.
So it's my intention to speak, ask questions, and share not just who Lakeith is, but where is he now? Why is he there? And what could potentially people do to help the situation?
Okay.
So what kind of kid was Lakeith? Where was he born? And if there's any specifics on like what kind of kid he was growing up and who he is.
Okay. Lakeith is my son. He was born in Montgomery, Alabama. As a boy coming up, he was the typical boy. You know, into stuff, dirt, frogs, just dirty. He was a boy. He was a late talker. He started talking when he was probably like maybe 2 or early 3. But he was basically a pretty good kid. We was close. Like he was like a mama's boy. Well, I was a boy's mama, however you want to put it.
You guys had a close relationship.
We did. Like I said, he was a pretty good kid coming. Our kids like dib and dab, and you have to tell them no and stop. So he wasn't no different from, any other kids coming up.
And did like in school, was he playing sports or was he into
football
anything?
Was the thing. He loved football. He tried basketball, but he only did like the stuff that he saw on the video games, like with the basketball, like get on the floor and just slide with the jersey like bottom down and like slide across the gym floor. So basketball was definitely not his thing, but football was.
What was he? Is he someone that was like the youngest or older than people? Was he
my middle
smaller,
child.
bigger?
He's my middle child. My daughter is before him, and it's Lakeith. Then it's my baby girl. Yeah, but I had a fourth child that died crib death at like 3.5 months. But he was like the second born.
I'm sorry to hear that.
He's the only boy. So again,
he's the only boy.
He got a lot of attention. He was my mom.
Don't tell me.
He was my mom's first grandson. So of course you know what? My family just spoiled him. My cousins, they took a big role in his life as playing big cousin, big uncle, dad. So I never had like a hard time with him because I always had someone to kind of, back me so that he'll know that I'm not by myself and you better get correct or you better get right. Yeah. So
it seems like he always has like older people around him, huh?
Yeah, and that's probably why he got that old man soul now. Like people tell me a lot that he's a lot wiser for his age. I'm like, well, at this point, where we are now, he has to be, because he got there, like with some big sharks. And you don't want to be Nemo fish out there with those big sharks. So you got to, be 10 toes down and kind of grow up a little more faster than what you really attended, to.
How old is Lakeith today?
Lakeith is 21?
21.
Yeah.
And how old was he when he got locked up?
15.
15. So can you describe any part of that day, that incident, where you were, or what happened?
I can. He's not 21, 22. Don't tell me I got his age wrong. We'll revisit it. He's gonna kill me. That day was February. I think it was on the 25th, 24th. And I was at work. And
what do you know what year was this?
February 25th, 24th of 2015.
Okay, so on that day, what happened? And if you could describe.
Well, I was working for a daycare and I was at work. And I had a friend that actually worked with me at daycare. She stayed in Millbrook. And so happened that my phone rung, and they said that there was the Millbrook Police Officers. My son named Lakeith. Can I get there as soon as possible? I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm on my way. So I'm asking, so how you just talking out loud? The heck he doing in Millbrook? And my friend said, she has like little stuff on her phone, like I guess like the Millbrook updates. And she said, well, they said they got some young boys that was breaking the houses in Millbrook. Okay. So as I leave work, I'm going to Millbrook. My family called my phone. They hysterical because they thinking that my son is dead. They only got the news that Lakeith was in Millbrook and he was shot by the cop. So at the time, so I'm calling as I'm going to Millbrook, but they never would give me any answers. So even when I get to the police department, they never gave me answers. We sat there for a minute, and they called me up to the desk and asked me, was that my son or do I know him? But how you just had that feeling like, I had to feel it. And I said, well, whoever's son is here, that's going to be a child that's going to be dead. And his family, I never met him at all. But when they came in, and when I saw and like the size of the little petite boy I saw in the picture, I knew that was his family. So they went to the back, but they didn't stand in the back like 2 minutes. They came out, they was like crying. So I knew that they just had identified their little one body. So now I'm hysterical. I want to let me go to the back and see what's going on with my son. So finally I go to the back. He has on like all white, like a white hoodie, some white jeans. Of course he's crying, shaking up, whatever. And he's already been questioned by the detective. He's 15. So I'm like, okay, what's going on? He said, well, your son had a shootout with the cops. And it's something, I'm not sure if you're a parent or not, but you kind of know at a time when your child is lying and when it's time to really go to bed. And when I looked at him and he said it, my son was just like, no, y'all killed that boy. Y'all killed him for no reason. Y'all just shot him for no reason. And I said, son, did you shoot the police officer? He kept saying, Mom, I didn't do it. So I asked the detective, I said, well, let me ask you something. Isn't there a way that we can do like a hand forensic test to test for gunpowder? So the detective, he told me that there was only TV stuff. And I'm like, no, it can happen. So I said, okay, well, since you won't cooperate with me, here's what I do. I told my son to stop talking. We'll get an attorney and we'll revisit, the conversation later. So the detective, he asked me to follow him outside. Well, in the hallway area, which I did. And he basically said so many words, okay, well, we're going to end the interview now. And when you get in contact with an attorney, we'll restart and you can go ahead and go home. He said, but we're going to detain Lakeith in the juvenile department, which the juvenile department, that'll be here in Montgomery, not in Millbrook. So he lied to me, he lied to my son. So when he go back in the room with my son, he started to interview him again. After he told him that I got mad and stormed out, that I just left him there. And that wasn't like he told me that we was done with the questioning. They was gonna go ahead and send him over to the juvenile department. So of course he was booked in. We had like a preliminary hearing a couple days later to get out the charges. We didn't go with the court appointed lawyer. We went with a lady named Jennifer Hudson. Bad choice. Went with her. And we went to a trial to see can he be tried as a I'm sorry, y'all. Tried as a juvenile. We stayed in that courtroom like 4 or 5 hours. That was denied. I had my own expert to say that he wasn't competent to stand trial, because he's a child, and the waiver that they had him assigned to waive his rights, he was a child, so how can he understand it as a child? So when that was brought to court, the DA then said that she thought that me and the expert had an inappropriate relationship because when he came in the courtroom, well, in the courthouse, we greeted each other with a hug, which is totally irrelevant. Like it was first of all not true, but you greet people with handshakes and hugs. It's just where you just greet people. Moving on, we asked for a speedy trial. That was denied. So basically what they tried to do, they tried to hold him until he was at least 18, 19 years old so that he can first grow up more in jail as a, like as a boy, get a little more size to him. And when the jury see him, they can see him as being a young adult, not as a juvenile. So let's fast forward. When we go to let's go to the jury selection. First day, day one. The jury selection was awful. Awful. The worst pick. It was like picking a bunch of bad apples. Let's say. We had two individuals that stood up and told Judge Reynolds that they know that they cannot give a fair answer because they had some things that was going on in their life where they knew they couldn't be fair, and give out like a fair verdict, what have you. The first lady explained that her trailer was stolen from the side of a home, and I guess that traumatized her. The second lady was an older lady, and she said that her grandson is now in the police academy, and she waiting for anything of this nature to come into play while her grandson is on the force. But these two jurors, they remain to be two jurors. Like they were not asked to not be there. They was killed, which was kind of strange because if they telling you, blatantly telling you that they know that they cannot give you a fair decision, they should have been let go. I know that the jury is supposed to be people of your peers, let's say. It was nothing like that. From the looks of things, well, let's say everyone was a Caucasian person. They maybe had like 2 or 3 African Americans to come in for jury selection, but they let all of them go. The age group ranged from probably like 30 on up, 30 to probably like senior citizen. And it was like it was no way that he was gonna have a fair decision just based off the jury. It was like everybody's mind was pretty much just made up, if you ask me.
So out of the 12 jurors, all 12 were white?
All 12.
Okay, and I just want to be clear, we did a little research, Google search. We looked up Millbrook, Alabama, and it's a 70% white population and a 25% African-American population. So when a jury, just as you said, is supposed to be of our peers, this clearly does not seem to be that.
It was not at all. So the judge, he blurted out that we're going to do a 3-day trial, and on the third day he won't his, on the third day he won't his guilty, and that's basically how that went. Now let's fast forward during the trial. During the trial, the coroner was called up to speak about Adonte's his situation, and the top of the report read amendment. And when my son's lawyer asked what the amendment mean, the coroner told him that he was asked to change some things around because his report didn't go with the cops report, basically. So basically, he said, and this should also be in black and white. He said that the cops stayed there with him, pretty much like stood in the door, like over his shoulder, and was basically like telling him how to word stuff to make the death of Adonte seem, I guess, like it was a right cause. And from what we know, he was shot maybe, I think it was like behind the ear, like in the back of the shoulder. And we're like, if it's a shootout, like you would think that he'll be shot like in the front area somewhere. I mean, and it was clearly shown that you were shooting at some young boys running from you. The whole thing was just, a mess. And it's so much in my mind, and I really can't think of it all at one time. But basically, I don't think that my son, and let me say this, and I can say it 1,000 times. I'm not saying my son is not guilty. He's guilty for the burglaries because he did that. He's not guilty for killing his friend. He didn't do that. And he's certainly not guilty enough where he can receive 65 years. I mean, that's just the way that the judge uses power to, I guess, teach him a lesson or teach other people as well about using their rights for a trial. He was offered a plea deal, and he didn't take it because he didn't feel like it was right that, a cop could just kill somebody and it's okay. It's kind of like a cop getting like a 2-for-1. Pretty much like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Because that's really what they're doing. Because it's like here in Alabama, it's like the cops are it's like killing these boys. It's like they're getting like medals. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, the
Like,
way you word that, I never even heard it something like that you're sharing in that way. And it's like, yeah, you're right. They kill him and then they lock up Lakeith. I mean, a 15-year-old.
and they say that the prisons are to rehabilitate. Okay, so let's talk about that. You send when he finally gets to court, he's 18, 19 years old. 18, because I think he turned 18 on March the 1st. He started going to court like later on in the month of March, if I'm not mistaken. So the prison system is designed to rehabilitate, right? So why would you send an 18-year-old boy to a maximum prison where there's actually people who has murdered somebody purposely don't give a shit about it? People who have sodomized and raped people purposely and don't give a shit about it. So now, in what form of rehabilitation do you think that you're going to get from a kid that you're sending in with wolves? That's kind of like, it's like putting a lamb in with a lion. What do you think that you're going to get from that? Especially like with a 65-year sentence. So basically you're saying that we're going to give these boys one time. We're going to give them one time. If they mess up that one time, we got their ass. They don't have to worry about it again because we're going to go ahead and just get them what we can get them the max. We're just going to use this system to pretty much just do what we want to do. Because that's exactly what the DA and the judges are doing. It's like they're using their power. They're overusing their power. It's like and don't understand it, but I mean, that's what they're doing. And that's why I'm happy that we're able to get this out there. To let people see like this stuff, like this not TV, it's actually happening. Like people are actually going through this.
And this just doesn't affect Lakeith. This affects a whole family. This affects you.
We have our days when, when I can tell when he's aggravated, because it'll come out in his tone and sometimes toward me. And I have to kind of be that person I never did the shoulda, coulda, woulda. You know what I mean? Like that's like the last thing that a person in jail would want to hear. Well, if you would do what I said, or you should have did this, I never done that. So I have to kind of always remind myself not to give the attitude back. Because sometimes I have to just stop and just close my eyes and just put myself in that place where I'm waking up around these same idiots every single day, and I can't do nothing about it.
So let's take it to where Lakeith at 15, he didn't do anything violent. He didn't do anything harmful to any person, right? No. He went to take something that wasn't his. Okay, that's what happened. And when I look at the number 65 years, just to be clear, Derek Chauvin for killing George Floyd on video got sentenced 22 and a half years, right? So you said something interesting. You said he is guilty. He did do something wrong. Did you have any thought or feeling on what something reasonable would look like? He's already been in there 6 years.
Well, I did a little research and I read that offense can go from anywhere to, I think, like a year to 3 years. And if it's more than one offense, I think was like 3 to 10 years. But here's my thing. The orchestrator of the whole break-ins, the person who knew everyone's schedule only served 18 months. And Adonte was actually his first cousin, 18 months. And now I'm not saying that I wish he would have got more time. I wish my boy would have got that 18 months as well.
Do you think Lakeith regrets what he had done?
Oh, absolutely. You know, my son said when they was trying to run, okay, let's rewind a bit. When the cop pulled up to the scene, he was first told to stand down until he had more backup. So when he went in, what happened was when the boys were coming out, one boy opened the door and saw him, like he was like trying to push the door open. So the guy started running. But this is the time that the cop video cam all of a sudden stops working. It goes totally dead. So you only hear the audio that's coming from the other cop radio who was in the front on the side. So you hear the noise, the surrounding noise. You hear a lot of gunshots. My son said when he heard the first shot, it was like, I guess like a gate in the backyard. And he went to jump the gate and he fell. So he got back up, he tried again. He said on his way over the gate, he looked back to see where his friend was, and he thought that he had just surrendered because he was laying like face down. So he thought that he didn't have a clue that the guy, even when I got there, he didn't have a clue that his friend was dead. He didn't have a clue the whole entire time, from the time they tracked him down in the woods to the time I came in, to the time they questioned him, to the time that I came in. He never knew that that guy was dead. He only found out at that moment when my son thought he was going home, and the cop was like, and the detective was like, no, you're not going home. That guy's dead. And he booed like a baby. He was like, no, he fell on the ground. If he dead, he was like, y'all killed him. He was running, but he thought that he just running and just went, you know, he just lay down, like lay down. And he thought that's what the boy did, not knowing that he had been shot from behind. That guy, Austin Renfro, he came in and shoot. And he came to shoot anybody that was not a part of that household. But now, fast forward to the courtroom, the two women whose house that he broke into, they were very nice to us. They weren't, they was very nice to us. Like they was very, and one of the women, one of the ladies, she had two younger boys. And so she sat by me and she's like, I hate you going through this. I have two young boys myself. And I hope they don't ever try, like she was pretty much, they were very compassionate. So they weren't like, lock them up, throw away the key. It's like they were so respectful to have went through what they went through. The one lady, actually, when she got home, she couldn't even go in her house because of the crime scene. Like she came home to tape around her house. And I hate that happened to them. I honestly do, but I really appreciate the amount of respect and support that they gave myself and my family at that time. Like, to me, that was super dope. And that was like, it was an amazing thing to do, because it could have went, either way.
Right, no, and that's powerful, because the parties affected would be, right, the people's property on the house, and then of course Adonte, but all parties involved seem to have compassion, and no one's asking for Lakeith to spend one more day, right, at all. So,
and let me also say that Adonte's parents also came to the court hearing, and they was on our side, and they didn't feel like, that, they was real upset about the whole sentence as well. So we had like a lot of support from a lot of people, and it was well appreciated.
Adonte, Lakeith was the youngest person involved, though, right? And he got the biggest sentence.
Only because he exercised his right to a trial. See, the cops, they'll get these young boys in these rooms and they railroad them. the problem from food, from water, got them sitting up in them cold rooms, in them hard chairs. So at this time, it's like, what you want? It's like, what do you want me to tell you? Let me say it so that I can go home. Because he's 15. He think in his mind, he's a juvenile, he's gonna come home. So they're sitting here and they treat these boys to say whatever it is that they want to say, you know, and they're allowed to get away with it. You know, and it's truly awful.
It is. And I mean, like I said, there's not one thing I've ever learned more about this that doesn't make my heart break more knowing Lakeith is still in prison. How did they justify from 15 to 18? So are you saying from 15 to 18 there was no trial, or like what was happening during those couple of years while he turned into an adult?
He was sitting in jail. He was given a bond.
Was he awaiting a hearing?
He was in a court hearing. He was given a high bond. But the trick about it was my family couldn't use their property in Elmore County. So my family was willing to put up the houses and stuff to burn them out. But I don't know if it's a law or if it just was done to my son, because I never even looked that up. I should have. But by my family property being in Montgomery County, Elmore County wouldn't accept that, you know, as a bond. And I never looked it up. Shame on me, but I never looked it up. You know, 3 years, I mean, he sat and we visited. Like, he sat and we visited. But he stayed. What he did do that I so admire him for is he stayed strong. Like, even if he ever cried, and I never saw it when I went to visitation. You know, like if anything was, like if he felt any kind of way, I mean, we had serious talks, but it's like I saw him turn into a man like overnight. You know?
Wow.
It was like he knew that he had to kind of change his mind mode from juvenile to manhood immediately, like ASAP.
Did the police ever ask you to sign anything? Did you ever sign anything? And was there a conversation about allowing them to speak to Lakeith being a minor and you being his mother?
Not at all. Not at all. When I got there, when I finally got to the back, the guy introduced himself, and he said they had been talking already, and you know, they already had a conversation. So when he tried to give me the rundown, and when he said that my son was shooting at the police, and when I asked him, he told me no. Like, the look that he gave, it was so like, "Mom, I'm telling you, please believe me, he lying on me." You know, so when the officers saw that I wasn't going to just take his word for it, okay, let's get some proof. Let's do some forensics.
Right. If Lakeith was white, how do you think this would have played out?
Okay, well, let's talk about that. So it was a guy, first name Michael, white guy. And Michael was going to court the same time my son was. He was actually, his court case, it always came before my son's court case. Always did. In my mind, I think it was set up like this for a reason. So this guy particular case, he put the police on a high-speed chase. In doing so, he had a fiery car crash, which caused the death of his wife. He was released. I think he did like a couple of months, you know, to come back for the court. But the judge actually released him, and it was like on probation. He may have got, I can't really remember. But it's in the it's in the report. And if I have to, I can always go, you know, and put it up for you so you can post it or whatever. But I mean, it's on my son's Justice for Lakeith page. Is there? But anyway, this guy didn't serve over 2 years. after putting the police on a high-speed chase, which they said that what my son did, right? They was running from him, right? So that's a chase. This guy crashed the car, burned the car up, causing the death of his wife. My son didn't crash the car. My son got over the wall, and the cop shot his friend in the back. But now, you give my son 65 years, but don't give this guy 3.
To be clear, I think what this person's name is Wesley Phelps,
That's
correct?
it,
Wesley Phelps, and a 28-year-old. And if I'm not mistaken, he was given, and people should look this up because I Googled it myself, Wesley Phelps, and he was given probation for a grand theft auto, the car chase. He also admitted to being on like cocaine and heroin.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, his girlfriend or the passenger, whoever she was, passed in that accident, in that tragic accident. And he is currently free. And he actually did have priors for a burglary and some type of sexual assault. And again, that gentleman is currently free. And to be clear, that was in the same courthouse on the same day,
in
the same judge that Lakeith Smith was facing. So you say it there, right? Like, you know, other people, they got 2 years, 18 months, something like that for a burglary. Here, this person, same day, received that. It's not even comparable. Clearly. Has an appeal been made, or what steps have happened since to try to get Lakeith home?
Okay, we did have an appeal where they minus 10 years and they put it at 55 years. Now we're waiting to go in to do a Rule 32, which basically the Rule 32 will show the steps that was done wrongly, whether it was by my son's attorney, the DA, or the judge that may have persuaded the jury, had they had the knowledge of this stuff, to maybe, I guess, vote differently.
I mean, it has to be. I mean, it just, from listening to it and actually being someone who is very aware of a lot of different cases, it's not possible 12 people hear this information and all feel that this way, because I've told way more than 12 people this, and
Right.
I haven't heard anyone think that this is reasonable, acceptable, or okay by any means. If anything, they go, wait, what? And they keep just saying what, because
It's a shitty deal. Yeah.
How can people support you, the family, and Lakeith?
Right now, it's more about supporting Lakeith. And we do have a GoFundMe that's up. GoFundMe on Lakeith Smith. So people can donate. If they don't do GoFundMe, I have a Cash App. First name, last name, money sign, Pontina Smith. That's my Cash App. People have been donate to that as well. Also, get more involved with your laws and know what your kids doing. I know you can't watch them because you have to go to work, and they lie to us and that they do. And let me say this too. And it's not this starts at home type of situation. That's not that. Because a lot of people say that, but you have people who done killed their parents. You think their parents are raising them to kill them? You know what I'm saying? It's like you can only teach your child so much, but then you got to understand that your kids have them outside influences. They go to school, they go to the park, they even go to church. I mean, crazy stuff happening in church as well. You know what I'm saying? So it's like people, I don't know, just support each other. Follow our page on Instagram, just for Lakeith. Share. Let's get it out there, and let's maybe help somebody else's kid. Let's be knowledgeable. Each one teach one.
Yeah. And felony murder is affecting a lot of people. It's not just Lakeith. This might be the most extreme, egregious case in this felony murder world that I've ever even seen or come close to seeing.
Well, you know,
But
I heard something last week that kind of had me in tears. Like, I was just so upset. I was like, I'm not understanding it. Like, I'm not understanding how, and I think I said this before, I'm not even understanding like how is our president not getting a whiff of what's going on and not saying, whoa, hold on, you know, and calling these judges and these days up to the White House for some meetings, for some kumbayas, to see like, what are we doing? You know, like this is some serious stuff.
I hear you. I think that the president, the vice president has been absent in criminal justice in America.
Absolutely.
And did a lot of talk about it to get people jazzed up and thinking that there could be, but I found it missing and being a detriment to the people, you, your family, Lakeith, certainly. One thing I want to say in terms of something that's just been covered here in ways, and something that we actually all can do when the time comes, and that is jury duty. It is jury duty, and we got to remember and realize that it's the number one thing really we all can do when we're called to do it, to then be in that courtroom where Lakeith would be and say, wait, this doesn't make sense. And it takes a lot of us to do that, because just like they allowed those two people who seem to be a little bit pro cop, right? Well, they'll get rid of people if you say, hey, I had a bad experience with police 2 weeks ago. They have X amount of people they can remove off of that jury pool. And so it takes us knowing the reality of police in numbers to go out there. And I know sometimes you're not paid to do it and all of this, but it's like voting or more important, because that's how we change lives. It will save lives. So jury duty is something that I think we all should really be banding together and talking about, to make sure we realize it's important. It's not a chore, it's a service to do for your community.
It is. I mean, I think we just got to play fair, but I just really want to reach out to these parents, man, with these young boys. Like, know what's going on. Get on these Facebook pages. Like, if you have to start a fake page with a pretty girl, like, they'll accept it. I mean, and watch it from there. I mean, if you're paying the phone bills nowadays, get these kids' phone, man, and go in these inboxes and see what they're talking about. Go through their text messages. Like, don't give them so much privacy where they can start plotting and planning on doing stuff and you have no idea about it. I mean, you know, let's just try to keep a more handle on. Like I said, we all have to go to work, you know, and to pay the mortgage and their rent. So let's just try to be a little more swaying on what these boys got going on. Because I tell everybody, and I've been telling my son for years, and forgive me for the way I say it. I've been telling him, once these white folks get their hands on you, I can't do nothing about it. I can't tell that judge that you was a good boy. I can't tell the judge that you won't do it no more. I can't tell him that kind of stuff. Like, they're not going for that. You know, and I mean, because it's factual. You know, the number is gonna follow you.
It is. And we're gonna keep doing whatever we can to share, to expose, to keep asking these questions. I mean, if you're watching this and you feel like you could help in any manner, like, we're just people who care, trying to build enough resources, steam, and effort together to really get Lakeith home and felony murder rule in the country. Yeah.
Right.
And so I know this is like, it's tough, it's draining, and I really just thank you for your time and courage to keep sharing and pushing. And I'm always here, and we'll keep this open communication. And I'll share all the stuff below for people to support, follow.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Let me know. The kid's a good kid, y'all. He's a good kid. We want him back home.
He's got to come back home.
Right.
He's got to. All right. Thank you.
Shout out Mr. Checkpoint. AFTP. There's killers up in these streets. Always film the police. They keep feeding us to the beast. Always film the police. They kill us up in these streets. Always film the police. Gotta be our own keepers of peace. Gotta have police, the police. Gotta have police, the police.